What's good YouTube, Matt here and welcome to MK Plays. I find the casual gamer still struggles with drifting in Kart Deluxe, so I wanted to make a quick video addressing these problems. So why is drifting so important? Basically, it helps you turn around any corner with a lot more ease and control, and it stops you from flying into barriers or walls or falling off of edges. You definitely don't want that, that won't get you those first place trophies. So, how to drift like a pro in Kart Deluxe. Okay, so I've pulled up the first track in the game, Mario Kart Stadium. As I approach the first corner, I'm going to hold down the R or ZR button to activate the drift. Once you've pushed in and are holding down that button, you want to simultaneously use the stick to turn towards the corner you plan to go around. As we exit the turn here, just make sure to let go of the drift button and straighten up the stick. If you hold for too long, there's a chance you can overdo your turn and end up in the grass or flying off an edge. Personally, I use the ZR button, but I guess it's down to your preference, whatever feels more comfortable for you. Let's take a look at that one more time in slow-mo. So ZR and push to steer at the same time to the right. Then let go of ZR and straighten up the stick. Now that you've mastered a regular drift, I think it's a good time to break the news to you that there are actually different types of drifts, and these change according to tighter or wider turns. First, let's cover the tighter turns. This is basically when you activate the drift and keep the stick pushed in the same direction throughout the turn. Kinda like the one I just demonstrated, but a better example would be in Baby Park, where it's just a U-bend to the right. So once you activate the drift, you just keep the stick pushed to the right, and then you just let go when you need to. Now for the fun part, wider drifts. Wider drifts are exactly the same as the tighter drifts with a slight difference. So this time, while you push towards the corner, you will keep the drift button held down and push away from the corner. This will ensure that your character takes a wider drift and avoid you hitting those barriers. Wiggler has become like my go-to character recently. Sorry like Blue Yoshi. So let's take a quick look what will happen if we use the first technique, the tight drift, on this really long turn in Moo Moo Meadows. Oh, sorry Wiggler. Okay, let's run that back real quick. As we approach this long turn to the left, I'll hold down my drift button, ZR, and push to the left. Since we're turning left, right? Since we're turning left. But now, whilst keeping the ZR pressed down, I'm going to push the stick away from the turn, so I'll push to the right. Now Wiggler here will take a much wider drift. You can actually play around with pushing towards and away from the corners, as I'm doing here. This is what gives you ultimate control over the drift, and allows you to execute them perfectly. You don't want to go too wide, because you'll hit the fences on the opposite side, but you don't want to go too tightly either, because you'll hit the fences on the left. So arcing your drift by playing around with the stick, pushing towards the corner and away from the corner, lets you keep your car somewhat in the middle and ensure that when you let go, you will execute the turn without hitting any barriers. So here we are again in slow-mo. So ZR, push towards the direction that I'm turning, that's left. Then as I'm keeping ZR held down, push to the right. And now back to the left, and then let go. In many courses, you'll find that upon successfully completing a drift, you'll be thrust immediately into another, but it's quite easy to grasp once you get the hang of it. The second you let go of ZR, just tap it again, straight away to start the next drift. A good example to practice this on would be Dragon Driftway. The clue's in the name, people. You may have noticed some sparks coming out from the wheels while I'm doing my drifting. These are actually quite important. They give you boosts and they propel you forward, basically. So when you execute a drift, considering it's a fairly decent amount of time that you spend drifting, you'll see different coloured sparks starting with blue, then orange, and then pink. These are called mini turbos, and they give you a speed boost. So to get the pink sparks, you'll have to drift for a longer period of time. These are known as ultra mini turbos, and they're exclusive to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You don't have to do anything other than drifting for the sparks to appear. Just drift like you normally would, and if the drift is long enough, you will eventually see some sparks. And try to get these wherever you can. Obviously some turns are so quick that you won't ever see the sparks, but other turns, if you play around with the stick pushing left and right, it can speed up the process of getting the sparks, but that's more of like a pro technique, I suppose. And one final tip for you guys, I personally like to accelerate using the Y button. The reason for this is because the brake button B is just underneath Y. So as my thumb is holding down Y, I can use the rest of my thumb to push B at the same time, and this allows me to slow down my speed without coming to a complete stop. So it kind of just trims your speed to avoid hitting into those corners. A good example of this would be in DK Mountain. There's a super annoying turn at the very end before the wobbly bridge, which always sends players flying into the wall. Here's a clip of me showing you what I mean. And here's a clip of me doing the same turn again, but this time using the brake button at the same time. And there you have it guys, a quick guide to drifting in Mario Kart Deluxe. Keep practicing, you'll get it eventually, don't give up, just keep going over and over again on the same track. I think another thing that throws people off is obviously familiarity with the tracks. If you keep practicing on the same track, you'll eventually be able to anticipate which turn is coming up, and this should help you learn to drift. So eventually when you go into newer tracks that you aren't too familiar with and you see a turn coming up, you'll kind of know what to do. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate if you would please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.